Well, this is a special event, a special edition. So the 3, 2, 1, 0 go applies, but not in the usual manner, since we are not doing a Monday night overview using the RB Theme Junior Bible Ministries exegetical information. We are not in Philemon, which is our Wednesday night routine. And the end result is an exegetical edificational perspective or perspectives, some of which is not in the news. Greetings and salutations to Leonard. You made it. And I got started pretty much on time because I was done early because I was having some challenges that I have not. Yes, indeed. I have not yet mastered the event. And but we're going live anyway because, as it says in the saying in showbiz, the show must go on. Well, is this showbiz? I guess you could call it improvised. Not that it's all improvised, but I had some technical issues working with my video editing program, and I have no idea, well, no earthly idea why I was having the issues that I did run into. The thing is, the stuff that I want to show you tonight, some of it is very, let's call it, not normally known or seen. Okay, why? Well, if you look at this document right here, this is from the Department of the Air Force, and it's dealing with cryptological training in San Angelo, Texas, Goodfellow Air Force Base. And you can see the subject is investigative and personal security standards. And there's some information there that we will talk about, personal security and so on. This is official stuff. We are going to see fatal attacks. We are going to see, excuse me, suicide, including, sadly, this particular incident. I guess I'll show you this page. Navy chief. Now we're talking about the chief of naval operations. Borda's suicide leaves colleagues looking for answers. Well, as you can see who was involved there, and the lady with the chapeau is the wife of Admiral Borda, who you can see here, Papa Mike. And I'm going to show you right now a picture of him in younger, better days. Now you're going to laugh. This is Mikey. There, let me see if I can get that in there right where you can see it. Can I hold that straight? Sorry, I can't see what I'm doing. There we go. I can see it better now. There he is as a whippersnapper, and we'll see more about it. There he is as the admiral and kind of a chief of the Navy, CNO as we call it. Again, you can see him here speaking as an admiral. And that is on the, is that the George Washington? George Washington, CVN 73. Can't even read the Washington part. By the way, here's another part of the article. Top admiral in Navy apparently kills self. Big emphasis on the word apparently. There is so much that we're, able to discuss here shortly. Survival, evasion, resistance, and escape school. Okay, we are going to be talking about that. Look who is, yes, of course. I have, articles, and I have seen video lately in the news, in current news. This is old news. You might get a kick out of this. Here is a special F-117A edition at Nellis Air Force Base. And there's lots of stuff that goes with that. One of them that I'll show you right here and now is a lovely glossy shot. And this is signed to me. Let me see if you can, how can I get that in focus there? See, best wishes, Bandit 306, Phil McSall. That was at, that was given to me at Nellis Air Force Base out of Las Vegas. I never did frame that one. I've got another one from the chief test pilot for Northrop in an F-117, which is the F-18 prototype. It's on my wall. Can I get that one? Let me see if I can get it off the wall. I don't know that it'll come off. Oh, yes, it will. Thank goodness, because I'm not kidding here. Here's another one. Best of luck, Philippe, and good wishes, Hank Shoto. And his name is right there where he's flying. It says Hank Shoto in white letters. And on the backside, it says F-18 prototype. And what's really nice is there is a stamp with the postal seal from Bourget in, I think I want to say August 10th of 1977 at the Paris Air Show. And it does say that on the stamp. International, let me read it to you. I can't read it when it's on the screen that way. In fact, I still can't read it. Now I need my glasses. International, well, it's in French. International de l'Aéronautique, Salon Bourget 10. Oh, it's the 10th of June of 1977. And you see the Eiffel Tower, and you see different airplanes, and also the American Statue of Liberty, and it says Et de l'espace, so also of space. And it's got a Charles Lindbergh 1927-1977 stamp for 1.9 francs in those days before the euro. And I'm going to blow that up a little bit so you can kind of see it because it's very nice. And so this is, again, the F-18 prototype, which was the YF-17. It's in the Aeronautical Naval Museum, excuse me, in Pensacola. I've been in that plane. And anyway, what's fun, oops, let me push some buttons here so that we can see what everybody's saying. This is the Spirit of St. Louis. That is the actual plane in the stamp. Let me try and blow it up nice and big. Look at that. And it says Charles Lindbergh right there. And so it was very nice to have the chief test pilot for Northrop. Best of luck and good wishes from Hank. And there again, you see him having a good old time. Sorry, I've got a frog in my throat. Like I told you, it has been a challenging start to this special night where we're having the grace and the fun. I'll show you a couple of these things of being able to just kind of zoom in. Time for a drink. I'll tell you, I could say I need a drink, but not when you're flying. Check this out. Right there is a lovely model of this bird. That's it right there. And the bank blast has nothing to do. Let me see here. Let me get try to open this up here. Here we go. Spy plane breaks records in final run. That is SR-71 Blackbird. I don't think it's pulling off any records here. A drink and a stogie. That's cool. Indeed. And you know what? I'm telling you, if we could be hanging out with these guys, that's what they'd be saying too. They'd be saying cheers. And yes, in fact, I have two of them. I was supposed to give one to one of the engineers who was working on these birds. And unfortunately, I have since lost contact with him, and he, may very well have passed on. And so, yes, I have a few things that we're going to be looking at. Again, like I said, there's the the F-117A. And here we have in the Las Vegas Review-Journal the story on the SR-71 Blackbird. Jet darts coast to coast in the supersonic time of 68 minutes and 17 seconds. I think we should highlight that for a moment. It's been retired, but there it is. The Blackbird. And so we're getting a little bit of history tonight, including a bit of, I guess we could say, current news. That some of this is not in the news and that you may get, meaning not in the news that you may get, or you may get it. And we have another deal. Yeah, there you go. So we've got Lou and Leonard, and yours truly. And there's more info on the Blackbird. And so that was from that article. But what I'm going to show you tonight, some more things. By the way, I mentioned to you about a while back. Oh, I guess I should maybe show you the letter from right here. Down at the bottom, it says Captain J. Monroe Smith, Commander, Naval Activities, Spain, and Commanding Officer, Naval Station Rota, with none other than the Bob Hope. Let me push this button here. There's Bob Hope and Captain Smith. And I think I can find my letter from Captain Smith. Let me think for a second. If I have it handy, I will show it to you. I have to look in two places. It's always entertaining to get a letter. This one was sent to me in Las Vegas, there you can see, from, as it says there, Commander, U.S. Naval Activities, Spain, U.S. Naval Station, FPO, New York. Well, but anyway, he's the commander, and not only do I have a particular letter from him, this is another captain. This is not the commander of the base, but this is Captain Wagner of the U.S. Naval Communications Station when I was a third-class petty officer. And let's see if I can push these buttons here. And I was getting my wings pinned on me there, which is a fun moment. But what I want to show you, oh, this was another letter also from the security officer at U.S. Naval Station. It says FPO New York because they don't use the Spanish base address. But yeah, it's very interesting how they use that thing. But I'm going to show you the letterhead. So we're goofing off here, right? I mean, that's all we're doing is this is a night of extracurricular activities. And I am glad that at least a couple people are going to see what's coming up here. Let me go to, and again, bear with me. It's going to be one of those kind of nights where we're just a little bit here and a little bit there. The occasion for this letter from the commander of U.S. Naval Activities, Spain, was, to whom it may concern, yours truly. Whoops, got social security number showing there. Good driver's record. And let me cover that up. Didn't see that was on there. I can cover it this way. And then at the bottom, it says, signed, sincerely, J.M. Smith, captain. Well, he's a captain, but he's functioning as an admiral. He's in an admiral's billet. He just doesn't have the rank, so he doesn't wear it yet. Let's see. Where have we got more stuff? This name is Pure Channel. Aha. Oh, and there. See, there's a comment from Leonard. Now, this is the fun part of all the current stuff I'm showing you. No social on there. It's got the date. Notice it's December 29th of 88. Now, you're going to laugh about the cigars and the drinks. From Commander, U.S. Naval Activities, Spain, Commanding Officer, Philippe, enclosed is the letter you requested. Same day service. You can thank my secretary for that one. Smiley face. Don't you love it? Also, I have taken the issue of good driving records to security to implement some sort of a plan to make it easy on everyone to get such an endorsement. Security may very well send you something in addition to this. I just wanted to answer the mail quickly. Good luck to you in the future. Sincerely, Monroe Smith, Captain. The commanding officer in Spain. You know, it's the kind of nonsense I always got myself into. I would have issues and I'd have to contact, heads of state to figure out how we're going to fix a problem. And, these people like the commander of the U.S. Naval Activities, Spain, kind of weird. But then again, it helps to know these people because when Bob Hope shows up at the airport, there it is, comedian Bob Hope and his group of USO entertainers gave an unscheduled performance at the base theater December 27th. Hope was supposed to perform at Lahone Air Base in the Azores, but because of high winds, Let me read what it says here. Air Force C-141 carrying Hope and his troop had to land in Rota. The performance in Rota was the final stop on what some are suggesting could be Hope's last tour for American forces overseas. About 450 people packed into the base theater to see the performance, and probably twice that many were left standing in line. After a 2 or even 3 hour wait. Here he is escorted to the air terminal by Captain J. Monroe Smith, Commander Naval Activities Spain, and Commanding Officer Naval Station Rota. So fun stuff, right? Bob Hope, look, he's got his golf club. And we had a golf course on the base, by the way. So you know that was going on. And there's Captain Smith, and everybody's having a good time. That was not always and normally the case, but it sure was on that particular day. Now, back at the ranch, I keep on having more things to show you, so we continue. This was the Rota Spain Jack Tar paper. It was in English, and there's the A3. There's my bird. Reagan praises U.S. service members. Okay, we're talking Friday, May 20th, 1988. And it had a big spread on the A3. So I actually grabbed a couple copies of this, and I'm glad I did. There's so much I'd like you to see tonight, but I'm going to have to limit. By the way, there's Captain Smith again. He's always in the news, you know, doing something. And here says Captain J.M. Smith, Commanding Officer, Rota and Commander Naval Activities Spain, his wife, Miss Jenny, and Lieutenant Commander Rita Hawk, Navy Exchange Officer, cut the ribbon for the new Cheers Wines and Spirits package store. So they opened the new package store, and who is going to be there? None other than there. Look at that big bottle of what I call champagne, but in Spain they call it cava. Let me see if I can get that in the picture over here. Oops, there it is. Big old bottle with a balloon thing on top of it. That's pretty funny. So this, again, a good time was had by all. So if I had a stogie and a beer, I'd take a sip and a puff. And meanwhile, in those days, you could get on sale a Weber barbecue for $39.99 and assorted Foster Grant sunglasses for $3.59. All right, let's see here. Got to add this comment here. Air Force has the best golf course. Well, I don't know, but I'll tell you what, this was the only golf course in Spain. And a funny thing happened on the way to the golf course one day. I was in the 32 Division offices, our command, and they said, hey, we're going to be having a kind of I think they call it scratch for first place, where everybody donates a certain amount of their pay to one of the different, like United Way or other such charities. And fortunately, our cryptologic technician admin guy, CTA, one of the 6 branches, he was a really good golfer. And so on our team of 4 guys, you know how it works, where the guy that shoots the furthest, that's where we, you know, continue from. And so that's what we did, and we won. So I've golfed twice in my life as far as real golf. The first time was at Pebble Beach, and the second time was a tourney in Spain, and we got first place. So you can imagine, with my bad back after that, I quit. The reason I got to do the first one is near Monterey, California, which is next door to Carmel and Pebble Beach and all that. What happened was every year they'd have the Laguna Seca races, car races, and people would volunteer from the Navy to go and help at the car races. And so I was one of the volunteers. And because we volunteered, somebody at that time who was in charge of the Pebble Beach golf course invited us to go and play. And at that time, let me see here if I can push these guys on. Test pilots try to drop golf balls from their chopper. Oh, that's a funny joke. Jeez Louise, that's funny. And here's a comment from Lou. I think best ball is the best. Yeah, I couldn't believe we were, okay, first of all, like I said, from Laguna Seca races in Monterey, we go to Pebble Beach. I'm a lefty. And they're like, no problem. They give me a set of clubs and off we go. And I'm playing. And in those days, in the mid 80s, like 85, I think green fees would have been over there like $100. And that would be a big deal, Well, I imagine, what is it, $500 now? Who knows? But anyway, bottom line is that was in Monterey. And so I got to play, if not the best, one of the best courses in the world. Then I go to Spain where they only have one, and it's on the American base, at least at that time. They also were the only place in Spain that had a movie theater, a good old drive-through, the big old drive-through movie theaters. And so that was two of the things. Those were two of the things that base was well known for. But the funny thing is, so we have to play scratch, and we end up with the guy that's, happens to be the best out of 9 teams of 4. There were 36 players. And so we got first place in the tourney. Of course, we didn't get anything because we had to give the money away to, I forget if it was United Way or somebody like that. But it was still fun. Meanwhile, back at the ranch here, there's an airman named Tom Clancy, not to be confused with the author. And right up here is a comment about airman, or what is he called? Yeah, airman, as in he's a seaman, but in the Airedale department. So he is Navy. But look at the name. Airman Tom Clancy, an A3 plane captain, signals the pilot that everything is ready for an engine start. So let's see, where's that picture? Yeah, there he is right there. He's giving the green light to the pilot. And what's happening in these shots is down here, you can see there's an engine starter at VQ2 for the A3 aircraft. And you can see the A3 getting gas there. And if you look where it says 016, you see that line right there? You're going to see that again in a better shot. That is the nozzle that you have to catch the basket to get gas in midair. Okay, so there again is the starter, and there's the backside of the A3, and on that one, it's got the Buno number 014. It's kind of shaded out. Let me see if I can get that to show clearly enough. Yeah, on the back end there, 014. And it's interesting because you see that bird, and then over here, you see 016. And that's on the front of it. It's in front and back. So those are Rangers 14 and 16. And here on this one, you can't tell which one it is, but there is, again, where you get the fuel from. You can barely see that thing sticking out right up above the, right in the middle where the canopy is, just sticking out above the windshield. That is the gun, so to speak. That's where you get the gas connects to the basket. So these are a couple of interesting shots of the A3. And let me see, are there any more on here? Oh, here's the soccer team. Can't get all of this to show. And of course, when you're in Europe, and this is 1988-ish, soccer is the thing. So, oh yeah, here's Tour Africa. You know, you can get a tour and go over to Africa. Well, of course, I did do that but I didn't do the tour because I would go to Morocco for work. And Miguel rent-a-car and for insurance. But anyway, so that is the Jack Tar of Road to Spain back in 1988. And now you see a little bit of the surroundings of where I was and some of the things that happened and some of the people. The other stuff from Las Vegas happened when I came back and when I got back from Europe from my tour of duty. This was the kind of work I would do. This would be a booklet, Bienvenue à bord, USS Thorn. And everything in it is in French. So guess who did it? You know, le navire par les chiffres. So it gives all of the status, the data on the ship. And here, description du navire. L'USS Thorn, DD 988, 988, est le 26e bâtiment d'un programme. It's the 26th ship of a particular program in the Navy. There it is. And there is le commandant du navire, Captain de Frégate Jack Martin, Marine des États-Unis, U.S. Navy. So anyway, I would have to take English pamphlets, and here's the original Jonathan Thorn from 1779 to 1811, the namesake of the ship, Lieutenant Jonathan Thorn. And there's an original. And so what I would do, and there's the one I was on, I would go on there and do certain things. And, you know, I had certain functions, tour guide for the French dignitaries and all that kind of stuff. Let's see, I've missed a couple of things. Wow. Let me put these things on. I don't know if you guys have seen this, or if you don't see them unless I put them on. I think I have to put them on. It says, did they at least yell 4? Yeah, in the helicopters, right? And then whatever was awesome, that's Leonard's comment. Pilot and co-pilot would take turns. Aha. In the helicopter. And so I don't know if you guys already saw all this, and I hadn't posted it. Somebody let me know if you see these things unless I post them, because I don't know how that works. Haven't figured that part out yet. But okay, so we've seen some of that, and I mentioned at the beginning, oh, you guys can see each other. Very cool. That's very cool. So, and I guess I'm putting it, and then I get to put it, maybe it also shows on Twitter through, you know, the Periscope Twitter route. Now, what I wanted to mention about some of this stuff, which is why I'm saying it's not in the news, or at least the news that you may get, and you may or may not get it. These, like it says here, I got to try to go backwards. Special compartmented information, SCI. That is a level of sensitive compartmented information. And so this is a notification that you learn about special procedures for storage, transmission, and use. And that everything is everything is based on investigative personal security standards and central intelligence directives. And there are all these standards, You have to have an SBI, which is no more than 5 years old, and a top secret clearance, or in some cases have been granted interim clearance based on an incomplete SBI, sensitive background investigation. And you have to have all these standards: stable, trustworthy, reliable, excellent character, judgment, and discretion, and of unquestioned loyalty to the United States. And blah, 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 blah. Okay, this goes on and on and on. And, you know, these are these. Then this is, of course, an Air Force document because it's from an Air Force base, as it says there, Goodfellow. And that was for a time where I was under technical training on an Air Force base. And it was an all services school. Now, I wanted you to see this and look on Stars and Stripes, dated March 2nd of 88. Ramming of 2 U.S. ships in ongoing chicken game. And we're not going to read this article, but what I'm going to tell you is this is the kind of stuff that would come across my desk, and I would find out that things were going on, and sometimes it would get in the news and sometimes it would not. And the point I want to make about that, I guess, is that some of what I wanted to talk about tonight, normally when you hear things in the news, you don't necessarily interpret them correctly, and neither do, of course, the news services. And there's so much that goes on that people don't know about. And what I was going to do tonight is give an example of some of the riffraff that goes on. We did mention earlier the Clintons trying to look sad. What happened is this particular sailor turned officer turned commanding officer of the Navy, the chief of naval operations, eventually, supposedly, kills himself. And if any of you have seen, in particular, a DVD called The Clinton Chronicles, and you find out how many people are listed that may have been involved in an untimely demise. Here in this article, it says every Sunday for years, Admiral Jeremy Mike Borda, remember I said we call him Papa Mike, had sent a letter to his father, every Sunday for years, a retired Illinois postal worker, relating tidbits about his family and life in his beloved Navy. He found the experience so gratifying that after Herman Borda died last year at 91, his son, by now chief of naval operations, so at the Pentagon, started addressing his weekly note instead to his admirals, hoping they would pass it on to their charges. Quote, instead of writing to Dad, he told an aide, I'm writing to the Navy. His last such communication came in a pained, hastily scrawled note addressed to, quote, my sailors, end quote, in which Borda, 56, tried to explain why he was about to take his life. It was found on May 16th, just after his body was discovered outside his official residence at the Washington Navy Yard, a single bullet from his son-in-law's .38 caliber pistol through his chest. Though the causes of suicide often remain shrouded in mystery, in Borda's case, they seem particularly inexplicable. A father of 4 and the only enlisted man ever to rise from an E1 to an O9, which is from the lowest to the very highest. O10s only happen in wartime. That's a good way to put it there. It says let's see. A father of four and the only enlisted man ever to rise to the Navy's highest uniformed post, he was an ebullient man with a gentle, self-deprecating wit. At 5'4", he often joked about his height, who had shown no outward signs of depression or brooding. Quote, he was very upbeat and positive, end quote. Navy Secretary John Dalton says of his 2 meetings with Borda 2 days earlier. Yet the Navy's recent difficulties, including a naval academy cheating scandal, aircraft crashes, and new allegations of sexual harassment, had weighed heavily on him, though he wasn't, wasn't implicated, but I don't know. Let's see, this is 48. Where's 49? There it is, 49. So I got to go to 50. It says wasn't implicated in any of them. Borda's death came just after he learned that 2 Newsweek reporters were to question him about 2 small bronze V's indicating combat experience that he had worn, perhaps improperly, on his military medals over the years. Whether he was right or wrong, quote, I can't understand how he allowed things to be internalized to the point where he took his life, end quote, says a close friend, retired Vice Admiral Jim Zimble. And that hurts. Now, I'm not going to read the whole article here because, it gets into all the history and where he was, and it's got all kinds of stuff like rare congenital, conditions of his first son and all the things that happened. But when you read this whole story, you realize something is very fishy. So I'm going to close with the ending part. It says this. And this is very interesting. As Borda was laid to rest in a private ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery and memorialized in a service at which President Clinton praised his, quote, deep sense of honor, which no person should ever question, end quote. Boy, does that sound political. Colleagues, friends, and relatives looked for clues that might explain the final rash act of such a supremely reasonable man. I have a PhD, that's in quotes, says Ullman. But if I had 27 advanced degrees and if you gave me $1 zillion, I still couldn't write a paper as to why this happened. All right, so part of the news, and let's throw this back up there, and why some of this is not in the news that most people may get and never know what happened, such as when my friends died as well, and nobody heard anything about it. And it did end up in the news somewhere, a year or 2 later, buried on some program that nobody noticed, even if they did watch the program. What I want to say, by the way, Borda's sons, Robert in uniform and David and wife Betty in black hat, mourned with the president and first lady at a memorial service in Washington on May 21st. And so we see, the suicide leaves colleagues looking for answers. We know where the answers are, and they are not based in the, let's call it, lies of the press. The answer lies elsewhere. And so that was in People magazine. This was on the cover of the Dallas Morning News, dated Friday, May 17th, 1996. And there is the article, Top Admiral in Navy apparently kills himself. Awards legitimacy questioned. Yeah, like they had stupid things on his, ribbons on his uniform. When it says feared for Navy's reputation, I knew the man, I can't say well, but I knew him well enough. He treated everybody like you were special. And he felt that you were and are special. And he knew what it was like to be an E1, you know, a like super bottom buck private in the Army, or seaman in the Navy. You know, in other words, an E1, the very first rank that you get if you have nothing going for you and you are 17 or 18 years old and wet behind the ears. He went from that rank all the way to the top guy in uniform in the Navy. And you don't get there by being irresponsible, emotional, you know, over emotional, irrational, suicidal, etc., etc. You get there by true grit. And you've certainly had lots of bum raps. And in fact, they always say every great leader is a great follower. They were a follower first. And so the couple of things that I want to hit tonight, this is just one of the areas, is that, first of all, there's a classic example there of someone who was a gem of a person. If I ever, and you heard the story when I was working on the carrier and I heard the dinner bell ring and it was too late. When I came back up to the area where the admiral stays, the blue tile spaces, and went to the admiral's valet who was in the galley, and I said, and they both were named Mike. I said, Mike, any chance you can make me a sandwich? And at about that moment, Admiral Borda walked by, and right by the door there, the hatch, and you see him and he says, gentlemen, you know, like, you know, hey. And we said, sir. And he looked at me and he goes, oh, what are you doing here? What's going on? And I didn't even have to answer. Mike said to him, sir, Petty Officer Willems just missed dinner. He went down there. I said, yeah, I went down and the guy wouldn't let me in line. And he was the, you know, head of the galley there, a petty officer, first class kind of guy. And the admiral looked at me and he says, do you like wine? Well, no, first he said, do you like steak? And I said, yes, sir. He says, do you like wine? I said, I'm your cunning French linguist. And because that's what I was doing for him. I was working special, it's called CES spaces, signals, ship's signals exploitation spaces. It's a special little nook and cranny that nobody knows about on the ship called CES spaces. And you get in there and it's all cipher locked and everything. And you go in, and in there we do our work. And then whenever there are special meetings and the war room with joint contingencies with other countries, the militaries, leaders of other countries like France and Morocco, we have our meetings. Then we set up our games. We do the war games, you know, we set up situations and all that. Well, I'm the one doing all the work and working there under the captains of each of the departments. And of course, all of them under him, at that time, he was called ComNav 6th Fleet. So he was the commander of the Mediterranean, the whole Navy's 6th Fleet. And so he knew me and knew what I did. And so when he asked me if I liked steak and did I like wine, and he said, Mike, make him some dinner. And so I had a steak dinner with wine. You never can have alcohol on a ship unless you're a dignitary, like, you know, in those days, it would be somebody like Johnny Carson would show up and be a guest in the admiral's galley, and they would pull out the brandy and the, you know, whiskey and the whatever they wanted, the wine for dinner, you name it. They don't have it on the ship unless you're in the admiral's galley. So it was very entertaining to have been around those kinds of people and circles. And you can see, like I said, that's the kind of relationships I had. You just saw my letter from Captain Monroe, who was functioning as an admiral. And here, Rear Admiral Borda, who was an admiral on the ship. That's the kind of stuff that still to this day, for example, on Saturday, I will be meeting. Let me see if I can do this. How am I going to do this? I'm going to go to my emails and I'm going to take a picture and of a PDF here. And I'm wondering why it's taking so long for it to open. There it is. Oh, and yeah, here we go. Check this out. I'm going to take this picture. Oh, I guess I have to actually open it. Let me see. I'll try this. Opening with Google Docs. I should have done this ahead of time, but I didn't know I was going to mention it. Here we go. I am going. Oh, no, this doesn't look right. No, 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 no. I don't want that. That's garbage. Close that document detail and blow this off. I'm going to take a screenshot so that you can get a better look at this. Yeah. Let me kind of take a little shot and have you all right. Yeah, this you'll like this. I think you'll like it. All right, so I took the picture and now all I got to do is get back over here and import it. Let me open it on preview and then I'm getting better at this, you guys, but I'm still slow, right? I mean, it still takes time. And again, I had no idea that I was going to pull this thing up, but here it is. And now I can share it with you. Who do I see on Saturday? I'm going to go have breakfast at the Hasayampa Hotel, right there, the Hasayampa Inn. And then I got to get in there early because it's going to be packed. We're a room half the size, the Arizona room. We normally meet in the Marina room that's twice as large. Guess who she is? The president of the Arizona Senate and my buddy Grant, who is candidate for Prescott City Council. And so, again, you know, you can see that who am I hanging out with lately? The same kind of people I was hanging out with at other times, you know, whether it was the chief of naval operations, who at the time was the commander of the U.S. Navy 6th Fleet, or whether it was the commanding officer and, you know, like it said on that letter, the commander of U.S. Naval Activities Spain, and all these crazy people. Now, I haven't met Donald Trump, and I don't care to meet Bozo the Clown. So there are people I don't get to meet. But once in a while, I get an audience with somebody very special and somebody who has something going on and something to say. And as you can see from this picture that we were just looking at, it says here, if you're seeking the truth about the Arizona election audit, come join Yavapai County's very own Karen Fan. Her family owns Fan Construction Company here in the Yavapai County, and they're everywhere. We are endorsing Grant for Prescott City Council. Take this opportunity to meet Grant and learn about his views and his character. And he was also a Army shooter. And so he's the guy that helped me move in. In fact, let me see if I can show you. Yeah, here we go. Love the Casadas. And that's Grant right there and his family. That's up in Yosemite. And that's his wife, Ronnie. And so he's going to be speaking at the meeting, and he's running for the Prescott. Let's see. How come I'm not getting it to work this time? Hold on a sec. There's a way to do this. No, I'm not removing it. I'm sharing it. Shoot. Hold on. Pushing too many wrong buttons. And I got one hand on the picture. All right. So do we do this? It's kind of a waste of time. but what the heck? We are goofing off. All right, so there you have it. So Grant Casada, and there it is. Love the Casadas. Yep, we love the Casada. Actually, it's Grant Casada, but there he is. So Karen Fan, I'll have to get a shot with her and get a chance to talk to her as well. So we'll see what happens there. Now, back to our regularly scheduled special program. It's regularly, not regular, scheduled. The other thing that I wanted to get to is the problem that I was having with doing a playback. And let me see where I have it here. Oh, yeah, here it is. This is Dan Wallace. And I'm thinking I'm not going to be able to show you the video. Let's see, and I can hit the stop sharing there. Let's see, is everything right? Did I do anything wrong? I think I got it right. Okay, I am able to pull up some video here, and unfortunately, I'm not able to open up the Final Cut files, but I'm going to see now if I can actually open up a .move file. I want you to see, I had mentioned Dan Wallace before. Let me see if I can get this on the desktop and then open it as a video, and it'll take a minute for it to copy. There we go. We're almost done. All right, now let's see if I can get a video for you to see something about the exegetical side of things that I'm always, talking about. And let's see, let me go desktop and okay. Where's the one from today? It's not showing it that way, so I got to check the number. Give me a sec here. Okay, there it is. 0002. That's the one. All right, I figured it out. All right, now let's see if we can get this to pop up.
There's nothing lost if you don't have it, but you can see that there's some sense of piety. We need to finish this, so we say an amen like it's almost like it's a prayer.
Now, this is Dan Wallace, and I don't know, Leonard, did you get to see him? There was a 2-hour thing here. Dan is a premier textual critic and Greek scholar. I have 2 of his more popular books, and when I say popular, they're popular in seminaries. These are like dictionaries in terms of how thick, this is some big old thick and expensive books. Daniel B. Wallace, okay? This one, Greek Beyond the Basics, Greek Grammar, an exegetical syntax of the New Testament. Let me do this. Let me switch over for a second so that you get a bigger shot of this. There it is. See, exegetical syntax of the New Testament. And then this one is, it's the same thing, but it is a, what's the difference? How does it explain it? Abridgment of Greek Grammar Beyond the Basics. So this is an abridged intermediate Greek grammar. This one is an exegetical syntax of the New Testament. Now, I want you to hear, yeah, I've shown these before. We've used them, we use them on occasion. I consult them regularly. I guess I got to get over here so that you can even see me. And if you didn't hear or have never heard Dan, this is a little bit what he's about. And let me make it bigger again. And actually, how big can I make it? I guess I can go that full screen here. Check it out.
So when we get it, transcriptional evidence, we'll deal with that. But the intrinsic probability has to do with the author's habits, patterns, the author's vocabulary, the known syntax, the context the near context, the far context, and the argument of the whole book. We could also bring into this the biblical theology of that particular author, not of the whole New Testament, but of what Paul's theology of the cross is. What's his doctrine of justification, or dikaiosune? Now, when we think about the argument, this is why Longeneker's statement is true. No theology rides on any textual problem, or any viable textual problem, I should say, but the exegesis of many, many passages is impacted by these textual variants. Longenecker says the exegesis of Romans is impacted by a single letter here at Romans 5:1, and he's right. Some have.
This discussion on this day was about one word in Romans 5:1, and let me see where I'm going to go to a spot here. Like I said, I couldn't get this up the way I wanted to. Yeah, here we go. I was putting it into Final Cut Pro, and I was having issues putting all the files together. So I'm going to show them individually to you in bits and pieces, which is what I was going to do anyway, but I was going to be able to just do it through one timeline. Now I have to go to all these different clips. Listen to this part here.
The RSV, the NRSV, or a host of other modern translations. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Well, because modern translations don't have it, are they evil? Have they been produced by scholars who are against the faith? Or are they actually doing this on the basis of evidence that they've examined? This is the footnote in the United Bible Society's 5th edition, giving the evidence here. Now, I want you to notice it has a paneru, and the first line says, A in braces, then a paneru. This means the editors of the UBS 5th edition are absolutely convinced.
This is the UBS, and I'm going to show it to you on the bottom there, United Bible Society's 3rd edition, corrected. I have 4th edition as well in my program on all my phone, iPad, and MacBook Pro and Mac Pro. So UBS does this New Testament Greek, what do you call it, edition. But I also have it, and interestingly and wonderfully, Leonard has it as well. In this particular new Greek English Interlinear New Testament, check it out. We have the what he just mentioned, the UBS 5th edition, Nestle Allen 28th edition. So the 28th edition, there's a 5th edition of the 28th edition. And that's what he's saying right there. Let's go back to him. And let me back it up just a crack, and you'll hear him talk again, UBS.
Now, I want you to notice it has a paneru, and the first line says
here,
A in braces, then a paneru. This means the editors of the UBS 5th edition are absolutely convinced that Matthew 6:13 ended with the word paneru, evil, or the evil one, because it has the article. And then they give the external evidence. They start with Greek manuscripts, then they give the versions, then they give the fathers. And you've got Aleph, which is Sinaiticus, 4th century B, 4th century. These two manuscripts, Aleph and B,
Aleph
or
is that
Sinaiticus
A.
and
It looks
Vaticanus,
like it's a Hebrew.
are
A.
typically considered to be the very finest manuscripts of the New Testament that we have in existence today. Then Codex D, which is an eccentric manuscript, but when it agrees with Aleph and B, it really, it's I don't want to say this exactly, but it's almost like a sloppy scribe of a good tradition. It's actually a scribe whose tradition goes back very early, but it was moving in a direction that was far away from what the authors originally wrote, for reasons that scholars are still debating. But when it agrees with a shorter reading, where there's going to be a strong motivation for scribes to add this conclusion, That is pretty strong evidence. So it goes through, we have all this evidence. Now you see about 4 lines down, you have the double splashes, then you have after Panairu, Hatisu Estin Ha Basileia. So for yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. And then in the apparatus, it also says, see 1 Chronicles 29, 11 through 13, where this kind of a statement may have come from. It's also found in the Didache, the earliest Christian document we have outside the New Testament. But then,
all right, so I'm just having you hear what it's like to be hanging out with guys like Dr. Dan Wallace. And look here in Romans 5:1, you have in yellow echomen with an O that looks like a 0. Over here you have the same word echomen. It looks like a W because it's an omega instead of an omicron. And they're showing who agrees with the omicron, and then who agrees and how much, by the way, they agree with this other one, which means it's a subjunctive. And let's see what he says here, if there's anything interesting. I'm just moving along here.
External evidence for echomen, the indicative.
That's the top.
Which has an A rating in the UBS 4th edition and 5th edition. For the indicative, we have peace.
We have peace.
In the 3rd edition, they gave it a C rating. The UBS text has A, B, C, and D. So A means all the committee members are agreed. They're morally certain this is what the original said. Why did they change from a C rating, which says, man, it's almost the flip of a coin? They went down D before, and then I think in the 4th, they only have a couple D ratings, maybe none. 5th, I don't think they have any. In other words, all ratings are A, B, or C. Why did they have a C rating? Which means almost, I flipped a coin, this is what I went with, or I'm uncertain, I think this is it, but there's a lot of discussion. There's either hesitation in virtually all the members, or there's 2 that strongly disagree and 3 that agree. That would give you a C rating. What changed? Well, they added a new editor, Johannes Karavidopoulos, who's Greek Orthodox. But what's interesting is, although he has a preference for the Byzantine text, you notice in the 2nd line on the evidence for the indicative, at the end of it, we have Biz PT. That means part of the Byzantine evidence.
Part of it
has the indicative. The Byzantine has to do with the majority of the minuscules that did not start to get written until the 9th century, goes through the 16th.
Yeah, Byzantine
and
is 9th through 16th.
It also includes some majuscules or capital letter manuscripts. These are, we typically think of those as essentially 1st millennium manuscripts. They're older than the minuscules, and the papyri are even older than those.
Well, more original.
And for the echomen reading, the subjunctive, notice it also says Byzantine part at the end of the 1st line.
There
and in brackets, it has K and L, 2 majuscule manuscripts. So what we've got
majuscule
for the echomen, the indicative, notice the very first manuscript, Aleph or Sinaiticus, 4th century. But it doesn't say Aleph, it says Aleph and then superscript 1.
1.
What does that mean? It means that this manuscript has been corrected. What do we mean by corrected? We don't mean that a scribe wrote another manuscript copying out Sinaiticus. We mean that in that very manuscript, a later scribe changed the omega into an omicron. So what does the 1 mean? Well, we know of various groups of correctors, and I'm using correctors in quotes because they corrected it to the text that they were using in their era. This group of correctors, this is the first group of correctors, and there's a second, we have later ones as well.
All right, so I belabor the point here, but I'm moving along. I want to see if there's anything else that we want to go to on this clip. Yeah, because I want you to see this and the second part. Watch this.
Just hit the off button. I want you to notice on this, here we can get a little closer look on this. You have that O, that omicron above the omega. That's the correction that we have.
Up here.
So the first group of correctors
The
would write things
Kaido,
differently than the second group.
right there.
There's just different ways we can tell, but we can't tell which corrector in the
There's
first
a little
group is.
O above
And
it.
here you can see it a little differently. All right, so that's Codex Sinaiticus. Now,
Oh, there-
here's 0220, and this is where we have a huge problem. It's the oldest parchment manuscript. It's the oldest manuscript we have of Romans chapter 5, verse 1. And this is from the 3rd century, from the 200s. P46 is also from the 3rd century, and it's got 86 of the original 104 leaves. CSNTM actually published facsimiles of this with Hendrickson Publishing House. It's beautiful facsimiles. You can order them through CSNTM at the same price. We have the same discounted price that Hendrickson does, with one difference. You get an autographed copy of these facsimiles, but Hendrickson doesn't give you that. So you might want to order yours from CSNTM. It's great to have on your desk. It's great for pastors, for students, for professors, anybody who has $300 that they want to spend on something that's beautiful, and it's the earliest copies we have of much of the New Testament. But here is Romans 5:1 in 0220. Why isn't P46 the oldest we have? Because the front part of it is gone. It's of Paul's letters. It starts at Romans 5:17. I wish we had that leaf before that, but it has not been found. 0220 is known as the Wyman Codex. It was discovered 70 years ago, and it has Romans 4:23 through 5:3. But you can see there is a great big gap in the middle of this one page.
All right, I'm going to stop him there. But you get the idea, right? This is primary source research. And when you do that, you come up with understanding. And as it says here on my, let me see if I can flip that back. On my board, some of this is not in the news that you may get. I am always trying to bring out the things that are there that we don't see and don't know because nobody's telling us. It's there, but nobody's telling us. And when you do this kind of stuff with music and with theology, so you're learning God through the Bible and what the Bible says, not what people say it says. That's a lot of work, by the way, but it's no different when you're trying to do music. It's a nightmare over there in the back room there. I'm trying to do music. Look, today I was trying to do video and it was really nonsense. I just was having all kinds of problems trying to export the finished file. I don't know why. I've done it before and now it's not working. Well, you know how that is, right? You've done something before and then all of a sudden you try to do it this month and it doesn't work. And you're like, what happened? So I didn't figure it out, but I knew that I could go to a, whatever you want to call that, a secondary source and a secondary approach. And I would eventually be able to show you the things I wanted you to see. Now, there's a whole bunch of really great stuff that I wanted to do today. And unfortunately, it looks like I really can only do a minimum of all those fun things because I had about 7 or 8 of them. But what I'd like you to see that we normally don't talk about is another area. This is going to be on nutrition. And let me see what I have here under this NTD. Yeah, there was one on e-bikes, but that one's not as interesting as this one on mind and body. Let me go to this particular one and see how quickly I can get this. The reason I want to show this stuff is I'm very interested in having anybody who is having or will have health issues. I want you to know that there's so much good stuff available that people don't know about for your health. And the last guy I'm going to show here shortly is Dr. Sten Ekberg. He's on YouTube. And this other stuff right now that I'm going to show you are a couple of 5-minute clips from NTD. That's a corporation that stands for New Tang Dynasty. So instead of CBS, you got NTD, and it's not an STD. It's New Tang Dynasty. It's a bunch of Chinese immigrants that came to America who wanted to be a part of the American experience. And here's the kind of stuff that they're giving us.
Small tweaks to your lifestyle that can have a big impact on keeping a healthy weight.
Welcome to Strong Mind and Body. I'm Gina Marie. The average person gains between 1 and 2 pounds every year. Of course, eating healthy and exercising regularly can help to prevent this sneaky weight gain. But here are 12 little things that may be making you gain fat. Although that number seems small, that could equal an extra 10 to 20 pounds per decade. Number 1, eating quickly. In today's world, people are busy and tend to eat their meals quickly. Unfortunately, it might be making you gain fat. Studies show that
this is about a 5-minute clip. You're going to see there's a couple of them, and they're pretty entertaining. But check this out, okay? How to be healthy. Forget COVID. Forget all this nonsense. Be healthy.
people who eat their meals quickly are more likely to be overweight or obese. Number 2, not drinking enough water. Nearly a fourth of Americans aged 2 and over don't drink water daily. This can make you thirsty. Interestingly, thirst may be mistaken as a sign of hunger or food cravings by the body. Number 3, being too social. Having a social life is of course important. However, being too social might be making you gain fat. Social situations often involve food or alcohol, which can easily add unwanted calories to your diet. Number 4, sitting too long. In Western countries, the average adult sits for 9 to 11 hours per day. Studies show that people who sit longer are more likely to be overweight. Make sure you exercise a few times per week. Number 5, not getting enough sleep. Over a third of Americans don't get enough sleep. Unfortunately, a lack of sleep is strongly linked to weight gain. Number 6, not having time to relax. Many people lead busy lives and never have time for themselves. It seems that the stress associated with this makes people unconsciously crave unhealthy comfort foods to make them feel better. Meditation is a great alternative for dealing with stress. Number 7, eating from large plates and bowls. The size of your plates and bowls could have a significant impact on your waistline.
I'm getting
this
hungry.
happens because larger plates can make a serving of food look smaller than it is. Simply switching to smaller tableware may help you eat less food without feeling hungry. Number 8, eating in front of the TV. People often eat while watching TV or browsing the internet. However, eating while distracted could make you eat more food. While you are eating, aim to remove all distractions and focus solely on your meal. Number 9, drinking your calories. Drinking fruit juices and soft drinks might be making you gain fat. Your brain does not register calories from beverages the same way it registers calories from foods. Get your calories from whole foods rather than beverages. Number 10, not eating enough protein. A lack of protein in your diet might be making you gain fat. This important nutrient can help you stay fuller for longer while eating less food. Try eating more protein-rich foods like eggs, meats, fish, tofu, and lentils. Number 11, not eating enough fiber. A lack of fiber in your diet could be making you gain fat. This is because fiber helps control your appetite to keep you fuller for longer. You can increase your fiber intake by eating more vegetables, especially beans and legumes. Number 12, taking the elevator instead of the stairs. If you take the elevator instead of the stairs at work, you are missing out on an easy workout. By following just a few of the tips in this video, you can make sure you'll be eating healthily and exercising properly in order to keep that fat at bay.
All right, so that's that clip. Let's see. I guess I can take that clip out, remove that one, and let's see. Did I say remove it? Oh, I thought I did. Yeah, remove that one and remove the other one. Let's see. What does this say? Never cut my eggs with a knife. Here is something that I made. This was back on May 8th. Tell me if you want what. Oh, come on. That's a bummer. It's gonna, I can't seem to get it to, hold on. I'm gonna see what happens here when I try to flip it. I'm trying to get it to go wide, you know, sideways. See how it keeps flipping around? But anyway, you get the idea. Look at that. Do you have any idea what all that is? Because when I made it, I was expecting one thing, and I was trying to make a certain kind of thing out of something else. And what it ended up being is something, you know, completely different than what it actually is. I don't see any comments, so I'll go ahead and tell you what it is. Well, first I'll tell you what it looked to me like, and it was going to be some kind of thing. What it was going to be is it was going to, in effect, be hash browns. But I didn't make it out of potatoes. And usually, you know, you would have potatoes and maybe some onions, or I don't know what different people put in their hash browns. But what I ended up doing was taking cauliflower that was already steamed and put in the fridge, you know, leftovers. And I ended up putting that cauliflower and some onion and mushrooms, and I don't remember what else may have gone in there, but it ended up looking like that. And then I have this interesting organic unsweetened ketchup stuff that you get at Costco. I tried that, and I was blown away. You know, it was really, really good. Another dish that I made, and this is when, March 28th. This is pretty heavy duty. Let me show you that one. Okay, you've got a ribeye steak, and this is Angus beef, and shrimp, which I generally don't do, but those were some shrimp that I got at Sprouts, and you know, they were supposed to be good shrimp, which no shrimp are good, but you know, fresh caught type thing. And then you can see there's some mushrooms. And there's a brown rice that looks yellow because it's brown rice that has saffron with it. And then there's zucchini and crookneck squash. And, oh, there's a little half of a jalapeno. And the two sauces there, one of them is a gris poupon type mustard. And the other one, I think, it could be horseradish. I don't remember. That's what it looks like to me. But anyway, oh, and then look at all the pills on the top there. Those are the four that are together there. A couple of those are cataplex Bs. In fact, I don't know why the other ones look green, because they really probably all four are cataplex Bs, B vitamins. And then the other ones are just a whole slew of vitamins. But the reason that I take those supplements, that's been the deal all along. Oh, and here you can see a stir fry. You know, this is the kind of stuff that I luxuriously cook for myself, which is really pretty ridiculous. It's excellent, you know, nutrition in general. And I'm prefacing all of this to say that between my supplements and then the actual food that I eat most of the time, the two guys that I really like, the one that I've known for about 13 or more years, almost 15 years, Dr. Sadhanaga, who's in Los Angeles. The other guy, find out, is in, I think he's in Atlanta. He's in Georgia. And that's Dr. Sten Ekberg. And I wanted to get to him here. There was so much other stuff I wanted to show tonight, but I can't do it all. But I want you to see Dr. Ekberg. There were two more of these mind and body things. I'll try to remember which one I showed you, which says number 4, NTD, mind and body. And that was on 602. The other two that I have on mind and body are from 608, about fruit and veggies that are good for you. And the other one is on weight balance also. That was on June 16th. So that was just a couple days ago, yesterday. But this other one that's on June 12th is on leaky gut syndrome. And it's like 23 minutes long. And so we're not going to be able to watch all of that. But I want you to catch some of it so that you get to see, number one, I want you to see Dr. Ekberg and his background. Let me see here. It says that concentrate on protein and supplement the other stuff. Aha. And then, all right, have to say goodnight. Well, good to see you, and let's be in touch. I'll try and give you a call in the next week or two as well, so that Lou, we can be back in touch and we'll talk about more stuff. Thanks for chiming in tonight and being there, and have a good night, and hopefully talk to you soon. All right, I continue now. Let's see. Oh yeah, so we're gonna see Dr. Ekberg. And by the way, I guess he probably can't stay on. Watch the replay. You got to see Dr. Ekberg on this stuff. Let me bring this up, and you're going to see how interesting this is. This is really cool stuff. Let me find it. It should be this one. Let me see. I think it's right. Here we go. It's loading it up.
Hello,
there we go.
Champions. Today I want to go over the top 10 signs and symptoms that you may have an inflamed and leaky gut. And if you stay with me and watch all the way to the end, you'll be amazed at how many of your signs and symptoms that may be associated with inflammation and leaky gut. Number one is digestive problems, and that's no big surprise, obviously. You may have things like chronic diarrhea, constipation, you may have gas or bloating, and you could have things like IBS, which is irritable bowel syndrome, and that's a broad descriptive term that could cover just about anything, but very often it's associated with all.
Oops. What I was going to say, what did I do here? I had
between constipation and growth. And
I want to say, can I pause
and
it?
how do you?
Okay. I thought I couldn't pause it there for a minute. Some of this you'll say, oh yeah, I've heard about all this, or I know about all these things, but I'm going to fast forward them here and there. And I unfortunately don't have the spots exactly right. And I see. So I better put these on for a second. Okay, so we mentioned that Lou was saying goodnight, and then there's this comment. Good. All right. Now, what I want to say is I'm going to move forward here, but I want you to see like also his graphics and stuff, and how he's a really good teacher. So Sadhanaga has been helping me for almost 15 years, and it really helps. This guy also, I've only known him now for maybe 3 or 4 months, and seen maybe 20 or 30 videos. But check out the way he explains things. He's a phenomenal help in helping us understand how the body works. So I'm going to try to get through 23 minutes worth in like 5 minutes here.
Nutrition or inflammation or autoimmune attack, then we can get a loosening, a weakening of these tight junctions, and things can start leaking through. In severe cases, you could also have leaking both through the tight junction and through the cell if these membranes have been damaged. We want to think about the gut a little differently than most people do, because we think of it as putting food inside us. When we eat something, it goes inside. But that's not really how it works. The gut is really sort of outside of you, because you put things in on one end, and if your body didn't do anything with it, it didn't break it down and actively decide to use it and absorb it, then it would come out the other end exactly the same way we put it in. But the gut is a tube, and out of this tube, we're only supposed to have single molecules cross. And we'll take another look at that to get a bigger picture of that. And then these single molecules, they don't just happen to travel across. It's a very purposeful activity. There are carriers, there's transport mechanisms to take these molecules across these cell layers from the gut into the bloodstream. And then once they're in the bloodstream, then we can take them further into the cell. And that's really the whole purpose of this, is to put things in the gut. The blood is not really where it needs to be. They need to be in the cell, because that's where we can do things with it. That's where we generate energy, and we can reassemble these individual molecules into tissue. And in the bloodstream is where the battle takes place. This is where if some foreign particles, if some unintended particles get into the blood, now your immune system have to fight it out and make sure that we can neutralize them and they don't get into the cells. And if everything works the way it's supposed to, then what gets into the blood and into the cell, intracellular, that's only the approved stuff. The second thing that can happen with leaky gut and inflammation in the gut is nutritional deficiencies. And what happens is we have these villi, or fingers, in the gut. And then if we magnify this, we see that on the surface of the cells, we have something called microvilli, which are hair cells. These are also known as brush border. And there's something about this brush border that is the home for bacteria, beneficial bacteria, and the production of enzymes that we need to break down the food. And
now, notice how well he is describing all of this stuff. Let me see if I can turn this. He's a really good teacher. And so every area on all of these videos that are available for all of us on YouTube, and, you know, I'll get to the end there where you can see, I guess at the beginning and the end, you can see how to get a hold of him on YouTube. He is Dr. Sten Ekberg, and he's a holistic doctor. And I'm sure all you have to do is put that in and bingo, you're there. You know, you'll find him. But I want you to see, he has all these, diagrams, and he explains all these things. Listen to this here.
Something called universal reactor is if you have a leaky gut and pretty much everything that you eat, some of these proteins and antigens leak through your intestinal membrane. Now you're going to get multiple allergies, and it can get to the point where you are a universal reactor. Pretty much anything that you eat, you're going to have some kind of reaction to. And then we're going to talk about size of with is called 1 Dalton, and it's like a base unit for the size of molecular matter. That is the size of 1 proton. And the next size up we're concerned with is a glucose molecule, or an amino acid molecule. These are the size that are supposed to readily pass across these membranes and get absorbed, but anything larger is supposed to have trouble getting across. So glucose is 180 Daltons, and an amino acid could vary a lot in size, but they're generally in that same size range, roughly the same size. Now, if we increase this, we blow this up 50 times, now we have what's called an antigen. And this is about the size that's large enough for your immune system to recognize it and tag it. An antigen is something that can produce an antibody, and this is 50 times larger than the molecules that we're supposed to absorb. And then we increase that 8 more times, and now we have the size of a typical protein. So proteins can be rather small and they can be enormous, but just to give you an idea, what we'll call a protein about 60 to 80,000 Daltons. And then if we blow that up 500 more times, now we're at the size of a virus.
Whoa.
And they're at about 40 million Daltons. And the next step up would be a bacterium. So now we blow it up 30,000 more times. So again, body cells can vary quite a bit, but a bacterium is about the scale of one of your body's cells. So when we go from the size of the molecule we're supposed to absorb up to the size of a cell or a bacterium, we're talking about increasing 6 billion times in size. And why are we talking about this? Because I just want you to appreciate how fine-tuned, how precise, how delicate these barriers are in the body, that they're only a certain size that we're supposed to absorb, and they're infinitely smaller than the structures of the body, of the cell. So when we're talking bacterium or a cell, we're still talking something that is microscopic. It is far too small to see by the naked eye, and yet we're talking something that's billions of times smaller that your body is supposed to keep out. Number 4 is skin rashes. So when we have things like acne or rosacea or eczema, it's because when we have a lot of inflammation and we have a lot of immune reactions, we also build up a whole lot more debris and waste products. In the body, we have certain organs of elimination.
Check this out.
And most people know about things like the liver and the kidney, but we also eliminate a lot of stuff through the lungs, and the largest organ of elimination
Here we go.
is actually the skin. Now we could argue, depending on what waste product we look at and so forth, which one of this is most important, but these are the top 4 elimination organs that we have. And your skin is super important to help your body in getting rid of waste. And if you have more waste, then it's gonna cause some problems on the way out.
All right, so here he's talking about the immune system, and this is the biggest deal right now because everybody's having issues with COVID. And if you have a strong immune system, you don't, have as much possibility of having a problem. A bug can't get you if your immune system is strong. So our goal is to have it strong, but if it's not, we feel something coming on and then we bone up, we beef up our resources so that we can fight back. And I'm not even going to do, there's so much, every section, everything he's talking about here. Look, see here, arthritis and joint pain. He talks about those issues and cravings for, different things. Let's see what that says here.
Vagus nerve, which is responsible for your parasympathetic nervous system or most of your digestion. So the vagus nerve is what talks to your gut and to these bacteria. And as part of that signaling system, these bacteria can basically hijack the vagus nerve. So if you have an unbalanced gut and they crave sugar, then they can make you crave sugar as well. Number 9 is brain issues, cognitive issues, mental issues. And now you can see how it's starting to incorporate every system in the body starts being affected when your gut isn't working properly. And we get things like headaches and brain fog and memory loss. And what we have to understand is that there are 2 super important barriers in the body. The first one we talked about, that's your intestinal membrane. The second one is to your brain. And this is known as the BBB, and that's not the Better Business Bureau in this case. It's the blood-brain barrier. And while the gut barrier is super selective, the blood-brain barrier is supposed to be even more selective, because some things that are allowed into the blood are still not allowed into the brain.
All right, I'm going to leave it at that with Dr. Ekberg, just to show that, can you imagine watching videos on occasion? They're always about 20 some minutes. They're usually 19, 22, whatever. They're not really long, but they're chock full of information. And I have to say that in a way, I know more than I want to apply, because some of the application is hard. And you just think, oh, well, I'm going to have, something that I'm not supposed to right now. And you give in once in a while. And kind of like he said, you get cravings or whatever. But when you understand why it's worth it to do it right most of the time, it really helps you to do well. And I say that seems to be the case, seems to be true for everything that we do, everything that's available to us. If we have good motivation, it helps us to execute the good thoughts, the good plan. And I know for me personally, the things that I need to do, whether it's the biblical exegetical stuff or the musical stuff, and then the rest of it's all about, the personal stuff, taking care of yourself, paying your bills, eating, sleeping, whatever, exercise of some sort. Everything has to get balanced out. And when you know the right information, you're motivated because things make sense, and you'll go out of your way to do better. And that's what tonight I was thinking, from an exegetical and edificational perspective or perspectives. Actually, rather than some, you could change it to a lot of this is not in the news, or the news that you may get. But it's out there. And like anything else, the more we do that is good. I like the theological concept that the more bad decisions you make, the more doors you close for good decisions. It's a tough thing to, tough road to hoe. The more bad decisions you make, the more doors you close for good decisions, until finally all you have is a bunch of more bad decisions to make. You're in a really bad place. It's like, why can't I have any good stuff open up to me? Good decisions, good possibilities. Well, if you keep closing the doors for good options, then what do you have left? That's kind of the easy concept to figure out from that, is that the more bad decisions you make, the more options for good decisions and good things you miss out on. So anyway, as negative as that point is for near closing, it's because it does say here, some of this is not in the news that you may get. And so most people end up making a lot of bad decisions, and because they're easy to do. I guess that's part of the problem, is the ones that you make that are good decisions usually require a lot more forethought and planning and execution and all that. But with the resources we have, with the fact that as a believer, you can think biblically and see the principles of what to do that's good. And so you do a bunch of good stuff, you end up with, a good result. And you end up being a happy camper, so to speak. So as weird as this broadcast may have appeared, because we've talked about military stuff, and we've talked about theological stuff, and we've talked about even health and nutritional and whatever, all this biological stuff, as well as seeing a little bit about choices you can make. I would have liked to hit twice as much tonight. And I can see God probably said, yeah, that's why your timeline got cut off and you had to manually do this stuff because there's way too much here. But I hope that you have enjoyed and appreciated the effort that I put in to bring these things together and say, look, this is not bunk. This is real. This is going on. And we have options and choices to make and decisions to make and then execute the plan. And all I want to do is encourage you to go for it, because it's really great that there's all this good stuff going on. We're able to really excel and have advantages in life that so many people do not have and do not appreciate and do not execute. So on that note, I bid you there's a note from Leonard, a couple of notes here. Our purpose for all this is to, like the movie says, as far as to have a good life, a wonderful life. All I'm trying to do is bring up all this positive stuff that's available, some of it even positive through, let's call it a negative impetus. We have to look at the downside, the negative side, and avoid it. And so that's why I bring up some of this stuff. But the bottom line is you can have a great day every day. And, like right now, we're going into a weekend again. We've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we'll hook up on Monday night as usual. But I anticipate this being a hot weekend and hopefully a good one. And I'm forgetting now if at the beginning of this, or was it, last night? Yeah, it was last night's broadcast where Leonard mentioned about the weather in the Midwestish area, obviously Tennessee and such. It's either stormy or hot or something that's not the usual fare. I'm starting to see the storms aren't hitting here yet, but I'm seeing clouds. That means hopefully the monsoons will be coming soon. Monsoon. But we will see what happens next. And the main thing is to keep focused on our priorities. Bible doctrine first. What does that mean? Try to get with a lot of good teaching on a daily basis as much as possible every day. And do everything else we can to take care of ourselves. And that way we can see what's going on out there and still have an objective and positive outlook, because there are a lot of good things. I can't wait to see President of the Senate, Karen Fann, on Saturday morning and hear what she has to say about what's going on in our Arizona audit. Remember, she's the one that called it. She's the authority. This is really cool. And so I will bring you an update for sure on Monday, because when we meet next, I'll have some, I'm sure, good news about all this stuff. So on that note, I bid you a good night. And we didn't open in prayer, but I'm going to close in prayer and pray that we have a good weekend. Oh, and I have some excellent news on that issue of prayer. And I want you to see it. I'm going to put it on here. Okay. I texted this morning a pretty long text to Michelle. I mentioned last night, for anybody that watched last night, about praying for Karen Yost in Dallas and the twins, Michelle and Nicole, doctors Michelle and Nicole. And I mentioned that there was some real serious stuff. In fact, if I read it this way, it says, last night, just before the broadcast, in the ER with mom, blood pressure is low, possibly bleeding from the heart, amyloid biopsy. So I wrote this morning and tried to encourage, and she wrote back, and this is what she said. Morning. We got home at 1:15. The only abnormal lab was that her kidney function worsened. No bleeding from the biopsy per the echo. Blood pressure was normal in the ER. Thanks. So there is a positive report with a good morning from Michelle Yost. And so I put, wow, great news. Thank you, Lord. Amen. So I haven't heard back since then from her, but the bottom line is our prayer was answered in a most happy way, because that's real hard. There's been some tough issues there for Karen with her heart. So thank you for even knowing about her and praying. And let's keep the prayers up for Karen and Michelle and Nicole. And let's go ahead and close in prayer. And we'll see each other again, hopefully, on Monday night. And so let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for another day and for your grace and for answered prayer and for prayers yet to be answered. And we pray for this nation. We pray for our government. We pray for the leaders who are guiding the situations at hand right now. It's getting tenuous and very precarious. Situations are on an international level very tense. And so we appreciate that you superintend over all things, and that the Lord Jesus Christ controls history, and that you are always in control. So please continue to guide us individually, that we make good decisions, and continue to carry out your plan, as well as prepare for the contingencies and exigencies that, are always lurking around the corner. And thank you for all these things. We ask them always, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, in Christ's name, amen. So, as it says on the board, from an exegetical, edificational perspective, or perspectives, our special edition that is, some of it anyway, not in the news that you may get. I think it was really fun. And thanks for putting up with me and all these crazy things, including the difficulty that I had technologically, that I wasn't able to produce things the way I wanted to at the last minute, as a matter of fact. So be that as it may, all is well, and sleep well and have a good night. It's almost 9:30 here, which would put it at 12:30 on the East Coast for anybody that might catch it. It's interesting how people catch these broadcasts at all hours of the day and night. But I hope some people will watch it and benefit from it. And so on that note, I will say good night and wish you well. And poof, I'm getting ready to hit the end the broadcast button. So a salute. And thanks again for being there, Leonard. And it was fun. We had Lou here too. And I don't know who else, but it was really fun. All right. Take care. See you soon and have a great weekend. All right. Good night.